Welcome all to our UROS project. The study that Dr. Matt Bird and I conducted this summer was focused on reducing stigma toward mental illness through sport. So approximately 20% of university students worldwide experience a mental health concern each year, due to stresses experienced during this time of study and adjustment. However, only 16% of this subgroup seek professional help or treatment. One major reason for this that has been observed in literature is stigma towards mental illness. Acknowledging that this age is often when mental illness is onset, providing effective support and tackling stigma is important for future adulthood success.
There are three stigmas associated with mental health. Personal stigma reflects an individual's attitudes towards those with mental illness. Perceived public stigma are the perceptions of negative stereotypes that people hold towards those with mental health concerns, and self-stigma is an individual's internalization of this public stigma. Stigma is associated with negative help-seeking attitudes and reductions in actual help-seeking. Effective anti-stigma interventions are therefore needed to increase the number of students who seek help.
Interventions to reduce stigma often come in two forms: mental health literacy and contact. Mental health literacy takes an educational approach with the aim to increase knowledge on treatment and mental disorders, whilst also increasing help-seeking efficacy and reducing mental health-related stigma. Within the recent literature, mixed efficacy of these interventions is prominent, with mostly positive outcomes on help-seeking efficacy, but not always resulting in reduced stigma and increased help-seeking behaviours. Clarity of which educational approaches such as mental health literacy or anti-stigma components remains unclear. However, contact is considered key to significantly reducing stigma, therefore incorporating multiple strategies may be required for best long-term outcomes. Contact interventions include either face-to-face or video contact with those who have experienced or are experiencing mental illness. According to Alport's contact hypothesis, intergroup contact between majority group members and minority groups may reduce prejudice and stigma. Contact interventions are shown to be effective typically when face-to-face, while video-based contact is inconclusive around its effectiveness and long-term outcomes on stigma and intergroup behaviours. Video-based interventions still require further investigation. Janine and colleagues suggest that further research should focus on using other groups of undergraduate students, as most are from psychological or healthcare backgrounds, and examine the efficacy of target-specific interventions. In recent years, elite athletes have been appraised for their speaking out about mental health difficulties. However, no empirical research has been conducted as to the influence this may have on stigma towards mental health among the general population, including young people. Therefore, our project aimed to conduct some of the earliest research in this area. The focus of our research was to examine the effects of a recent documentary, a Royal Team Talk Tackling Mental Health, that aired on the BBC back in 2019. The documentary includes elite athletes joined by Prince William sitting down and discussing mental health and their personal experiences. As potentially fitting with the contact hypothesis, amateur footballers are provided the opportunity to discuss their mental health concerns with these elite athletes, plus there appears to be elements of mental health literacy. The aims of our study were twofold. First, to assess the effectiveness of a contact mental health documentary has on reducing stigma toward mental health from pre to post conditions. Secondly, to identify how the contact intervention influenced participants' stigma toward mental illness. We hypothesized that two main things would occur. First, that the intervention group would report significantly lower levels of stigma from pre to post intervention, and no significant differences would be reported from post to 2-week follow-up. We also hypothesized that no significant differences in stigma would be reported by the control group between measures. Our study design incorporated a sequential mixed method approach where the quantitative data collection took place before the qualitative data collection. Quantitative data that was collected for the study included 3 surveys relating to stigma, one for each stigma, that were completed pre and post the condition by all participants. A 2-week follow-up was conducted where all participants recompleted the same surveys. After the follow-up measures were taken, the participants in the intervention group were invited to take part in a semi-structured interview as to explore the influence and impact of the documentary. The quantitative data was analysed using repeated measures ANOVA, and the qualitative data was analysed using thematic analysis as to identify themes from the data.
Separate two-way repeated measures ANOVAs show no statistically significant interactions for any of the stigma variables across pre-post and pre-post follow-up time points. This suggests both videos have a similar effect across time. The main qualitative themes included increased awareness of mental health prevalence, how to tackle mental illness, and what mental illness looks like. These themes suggest that participants learn about mental health from watching a documentary which demonstrates a better understanding of mental health literacy.
From my findings, it was observed that the intervention and control conditions had a similar influence on all stigma measures across time. After viewing the intervention, participants also reported information consistent with mental health literacy in the form of an increased knowledge of prevalence, ways to identify mental illness, and how to tackle mental illness. Due to the sample size of the study and participant attrition, no meaningful conclusions can be made at this point. Recruitment was the greatest challenge, often leaving us feeling disheartened, but my supervisor's supportive attitude helped us push through and develop greater resilience for future experiences. Our tentative conclusions thus far would be that although the documentary may not influence all stigma variables, it may be able to enhance mental health literacy. Therefore, future research may measure mental health literacy components to examine the effect. For us, our research will continue until we reach our desired sampling size to power our findings. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, feel free to email either one of us. Thank you.